I think I saw a super chat here. Thank you for the super chat, Frank. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year's, David. Happy New Year's to you. My son was born a few weeks ago, and I'm learning how to balance being there for him and my wife while keeping up my creative output. Any advice on balancing the two? Many thanks. God bless you and your family. Have a drink on me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, one thing that I did when my daughter was born was I basically set a book up to release about the time that she was born. And the book was Crown of Sight. I don't have it right here, but it's somewhere on the shelf behind me. So I set it all up to just, there's a thing about the base mounts that kind of like bounce around a little bit. It's another one I'm like, man, I should have just gotten one of them TVs, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to spend money now because I might be moving. I might move out of California. I think things, I don't know. You hang on as long as you can. I think the train's about to go off the rails, so it might be time to get on out of there. Anyway, so after my daughter was born, I didn't do really anything for really almost 2 months. I made a couple of videos because maybe I had some time. But I specifically said I'm not going to even worry about my output because I'm just going to worry about the kid. And it was good because my daughter had infant reflux, which some infants get. Basically, they have really bad indigestion. They spit up a lot. The esophageal sphincter is a little bit weak, and so it causes reflux and discomfort. So the way that she could sleep was to hold her upright. And I talk about this actually in the book. In the Keys to Prolific Creativity book, I talk about this story. I took that opportunity, rather than being productive, I took that opportunity to just sort of consume media. Because I had to spend all this time holding this kid, I ended up watching some movies, some anime series that I hadn't seen before. I played through Final Fantasy VII again, which was really good because I hadn't played that since the 1990s at that point. It was just really good to kind of go back to inputs, things that are inspirational. You need to make time to enjoy art as an artist. So it doesn't all have to be productivity. So that's my first tip. You don't have to spend every minute or every day being productive. You don't have to continue to try to have maximum creative output. There's different things in your life that are going to affect that. We've had so many things happen to my family this year. It's been really hard to have that maximum output. But here's what I've done this year, considering we've had deaths, we've just had so many things happen to us. Try to find a time every day that is yours. Maybe it's an hour of time. Maybe it's 30 minutes of time. Maybe it's more than that. Try to have a time that is yours. If you have a little baby, it's a little harder. Maybe your wife needs help, but you can talk to your wife and be like, okay, like 7 o'clock, I'm going to work from 7 to 8. Like, what's a time that's good? When do you usually sleep with the baby? And I'll work during that time, right? And so you have a time that's set. This is the time that I work. And if you have that consistent time, that's your time. But you don't have to worry. You could turn the phone off. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just focus on your goals. You will find that you'll very quickly be able to get in your creative space because everything is set up the same way every time, and productivity will start to build on itself. So that's the first tip is you don't have to be 100% productive. It's okay to not be productive, especially after things like births, deaths, disrupting events, and just enjoy things, because those things will percolate in your mind and will turn into more creative output later on. So you can't expect to have 100% productivity all the time. Tip number 2 is try to set aside a time. Once things are kind of in a place where you feel like you can set aside time, try to set aside some time every day that's the same time that everybody can expect you to do that. Then what you do beyond that is pretty much bonus stuff. You know, if it's like, well, the wife and the baby are asleep, maybe I'll try to write. I'll write for 20 minutes or something like that, or I'll just try to work for a few minutes. And you'll still be able to keep that creative output. But as long as you have that time that's set aside, you'll always be making progress. And it's going to feel good to do it. Now, your progress doesn't have to be lightning speed, But every time you do it, you're getting closer to achieving your goal. So it doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like something that, that you're really enjoying and doing. So that's the other thing. And I guess the third thing is really about setting goals and understanding what kind of goals are achievable when you're really busy. So when you're really busy and you have a lot to do, smaller goals are much more manageable to achieve, and you'll feel much better about achieving them than if you are trying to do big goals. So just as an example, you can shift your focus if you're a writer, you can shift your focus away from writing a large, long novel to writing short stories that you would like to put out or publish or something like that. So rather than making your target book length 100,000 words, you make it 20,000 words. I've done a bunch of 20,000 word books over the last couple of years here and there, and they do pretty well. People like them. I've done a lot of books between like 20 and 50,000 words that actually maybe a little bit longer than that, that have done reasonably well. And it's a lot easier to hit that mark, and it's a simpler story to write because there's less plot points to write. It's just easier to manage it that way. So number one is don't have to be productive. Don't feel bad if you're not productive. It's okay to not be productive and instead to enjoy art, enjoy movies, enjoy reading, enjoy games, whatever it is. Enjoy those things. Number two would be make sure you have a time set aside that's just yours, even if it's a short amount of time, and you're consistent and you do it every day. Because really getting your goals is much more about consistency than it is about sprints or grinding or something like that. You don't want it to feel like a grind. You want it to feel like something that you can enjoy every day. And number three is set really more manageable goals, knowing that you're going to have less time to work and it's going to be harder to be productive. So find a goal that's smaller rather than saying, I'm going to write a book that's 100,000 words, write a book that's 50,000 words or something like that, and scale things down so that you can still achieve what you're trying to achieve. You can still get some things done that matter. It could be something that's like a social media strategy, like rather than doing long videos, you're going to do short videos. Rather than doing long blog posts, you're going to break blog posts into 4 parts and publish them over time. There's lots of different ways to adapt your strategy so that the goals are easier to meet. And in my experience, if you have goals that can be met, maybe weekly, monthly, then it's a lot easier to keep track of them and to meet them than it is to say like, okay, well, I'm going to write a 300,000 word fantasy epic right now. If you're okay not having that feeling of achievement, you can keep doing that even when you're very, very busy. But it might be a good idea to say like, well, is there a shorter story that's related to this? Is there a shorter story I'm interested in writing that I can actually get done during this time? And I think that helps a lot. So hopefully that's helpful to you and it makes sense. Let me grab some other things from the chat. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you and that's helpful and you can actualize those and use those. Part of productivity is achieving an end product. And so setting a reasonable goal at the end product and then having a process that's going to meet that, that's really what you want to be focused on. So try writing some shorter books, might help a lot as well.